Hey everyone, it's Hannah and welcome back to my little corner of the internet where I like to talk about books. In 2025, I read a total of 147 books, which is crazy because if you check out my little bookcase behind me, these are all of the physical books that I personally own. The majority of what I read comes from my Kindle, and mainly I read Kindle Unlimited. I also rent a lot of books from the library and download them to my Kindle, and I also read a lot of audiobooks. Today's video is going to be really fun. We're going to be talking about all of the various books that I've downloaded to my Kindle from Kindle Unlimited. I am a chronic mood reader, and so for that reason, it's really hard for me to stick to a traditional TBR. I've tried it before. I've done the TBR wheel. I've tried a TBR jar. I've even tried TBR prompts, but what works best for me is just picking up books that I'm generally in the mood for, because then I'm more consistent with reading more books. It's something that just seems to work for me a little bit better. I'm gonna do these kind of in categories. So the first couple are romances. I'm gonna go through a couple mystery thrillers, and then I'm gonna go through some like historical fiction that I'm like really looking forward to reading. The first one I want to talk about is called The One with the Kiss Cam by Cindy Steele. I've read one other book by this author. It's like a Christmas romance. So Cindy Steele predominantly does like very sweet, clean romances, and I really want to read more of her backlist. This book, I believe, came out in 2023 or 2024, and it's following this girl and this guy, and they happen to sit next to each other at a basketball game, and of course they're put on the big kiss cam projector, and they end up having to kiss each other during this game, and it just kind of like follows their love story. I'm actually in the middle of this book. I'm about like 50% of the way through at this point in time, and I'm really enjoying it. The banter is really cute. The plot twists are also very interesting to me because I thought this was going to be a very predictable romance, and I have been caught off guard. I'm very pleasantly surprised by that. I think traditionally with romances, especially with rom-coms especially, it can be very cliche. A lot of the tropes are overdone and it can be kind of cheesy. You just know what to expect essentially. And with this book, I'm finding that not to be the case. I'm also really enjoying our main male character. He is more of like a golden retriever, goofy kind of guy, and our main girlie, she is more by the book, by the rules. She doesn't want things to be out of line. She's very like type A personality, needs things done like a certain way, and she just doesn't want to like make too many waves in life. I think this is a really good dynamic for the couple, and so for that reason, I'm really enjoying their teasing and their banter, and just also kind of the forced proximity that kind of like takes place later on in this book. So as of right now, I'm really enjoying it. I'm curious what I think I'll rate this at the very end. If I had to predict, I'd probably give this a total of 4 stars, but we will see kind of like how the last like 50% of this book shakes out. So the second like romance book that I've downloaded is called Garnet Flats by Devney Perry. This is a romantic suspense book, and this is a third one in an interconnected standalone series. So each of the books follows a different sibling from this family called the Edens. The Edens are very wealthy. They live in this small Montana town. And if you're not familiar with romantic suspense, traditionally what happens in these books is that there's like a very life or death situation that occurs that pulls our couple together through danger, and they must come to like survive with one another. There's a lot of hardships to overcome. Unlike dark romance, I think romantic suspense is a genre that I really like because it has more of like a mystery plot as opposed to being like very, very dark. There are dark elements in it. There can be like mobs and mafias and like, you know, kidnappings and things like that, but there's always a happy ending. They're never too spicy. I will say with Devney Perry though, this has surprised me a little bit, which is why I'm taking my time getting through the series. I read the first 2 books, Juniper Hill and Indigo Ridge, in January, and I liked them, but they're much more spicy than what I typically like to read. I'm trying to gravitate away from spicy books or just like skipping the spice when it's included in the book. It's just not something that I feel like is good for me, and it's not something that like as a Christian person that I want to be like exposed to, you know. I'm curious how this is gonna go. I do really like her writing. I love the setting, and I think it's really fun that each of these books follows a different main character in the family. This one, Garnet Flats, follows the sister. So the first 2 follow brothers. This one follows a sister. So she's a doctor or a nurse, I believe. So I'm kind of curious how this one's going to pan out. I know that her writing is going to be really atmospheric. It's going to have a great mystery element. And of course, it takes place in this really fun small town, Montana, where like everybody knows this family because they're very like famous and like well-to-do. So yeah, I think this will be like a good one to sprinkle in with some of the like other heavier reads that I have planned. Next up, we're gonna go through some of the mystery thrillers that I've downloaded. So the first one, of course, is going to be Dear Debbie by Frida McFadden. Frida is a very divisive author. You either absolutely love her books or you can't stand them. For me, I kind of feel like I fall in the middle. You know, I really enjoy some of her books, and then others of hers, I'm like, Frida babes, you could have done like a couple other like drafts before publishing this. And I mean, you got to give the girl credit. She like publishes like 3 or 4 books a year. So I get it. The hustle is real for Frida. Like she is writing like no one else can. Her stories do get watered down from time to time, so I'm really intrigued how I'm gonna like Dear Debbie. I'm also going to be reading Dear Debbie along with my sister. We're gonna be like buddy reading it together. All of Frida's books are on Kindle Unlimited, so if you find that you like one of her books, chances are you'll be able to find multiples that you will really enjoy, and you can download them on Kindle, which is great. Dear Debbie is following our main girly, and she happens to be like an advice columnist, somebody who is like in the limelight, and she ends up losing her job, and this kind of sends her in a downward spiral. She has these teenage daughters, and she finds out that something is going on with her teenagers and that she's becoming very suspicious of. She also has a husband, and she's starting to suspect that he may have a secret as well. So in traditional Frida books, there's usually like a domestic drama or some type of like contention between like a husband and wife. It's very common in her books, so I'm intrigued how I'm gonna enjoy this, and I think it's fun to like read with my sister. It's a great buddy read book. The next one that I'm really looking forward to reading is called The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This one I have actually started. I'm not that far into it though. I'm probably like 50 pages. First impressions though, let's talk about that. So this story is told from past and present timeline. There is this woman that is accused of murdering her husband, and she goes on this like mental breakdown. So she ends up in a mental institution, and there is this there's a psychiatrist who is going to this mental institution, and he really wants to work with her because this woman has not spoken a single word since her husband has passed away. So he gets assigned to her, he starts working at this place, and it becomes very clear this woman is mentally disturbed. So I'm having fun with it. I wouldn't say that I'm like completely obsessed by it by any means, but it's kind of cool. It has like a past and present timeline. You do get some like journal writings from this woman that is, you know, in this mental institution, and you also kind of get like more of the story told from this psychiatrist and his perspective. And yeah, most of the story is like coming from him up to this point. So I don't know, it's a little bit slow moving, and there's definitely like undertones of like a moodiness, kind of like a gothic kind of influence. So I don't know, we will see. It has very high ratings, so I'm hopeful that whatever happens, that the plot twists are really engaging. This is one that I am reading on my Kindle as I'm like walking at the gym on my treadmill, so it's a fun one. I'm having a good time. I'm not obsessed yet, but maybe that's to come. If I were to give like a prediction for rating, maybe I would give it a 3. But like I said, I'm not that far into it, so I could be wrong. Next up, I'm really excited to read this book. I really wanted to read this one last year, and I just did not have the time. And it feels like a very seasonally appropriate book to read before it gets too springy outside. Where I live, it's still snowy. There's snow on the ground. It's still really cold. So I'm really looking forward to reading A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. I've never read a Kate Alice Marshall book before, which is crazy because most of the books that I read are mystery thrillers, kind of in that category. This book is very interesting because it's following this woman that goes to this cabin to meet her boyfriend's fiance's family. While she's there, she finds a photo of herself as a little girl, and this brings up the question of like, how did the photo get here? What is happening? Has she been there before? She's like, oh my gosh, did I like lose some of my memory? Like, what is happening? I think that's so fun. I feel like This one is going to have a really great isolated setting, which is a trope that I freaking love in all of my mystery thrillers. I love an isolated setting. I love more of mystery leaning books as opposed to thriller leaning books, just because I think it's really fun when there's like an amateur sleuth or kind of like a slow burn to like uncover the like ultimate truth of like what's going on. This one I think is going to be fun as well because it's not a domestic thriller. It doesn't really seem like it's that much of a psychological thriller, I don't think. So this will be different. I'm looking forward to it, and I think this will be one that I need to read like pronto, just because I think this takes place in a very wintry setting. Next up, we're going to move into some historical fiction that I've downloaded. These two I think are going to make me cry. Just to be completely honest, I feel like that's typically the case with like historical fiction. It just like an emotional pull based on the hardships that characters have to go through is inspiring, but also it can be very like heavy. The first one is Beneath the Scarlet Sky by Mark T. Sullivan. This one is following a young man that lives in Italy during World War II, and he is helping Jews escape across the border into freedom. This, I know it's going to be sad. Some of the reviews that I've seen from other friends that have read this book have said that they've like cried a lot through it. It is just a very like haunting and like resilient like study into this time period in history and just like the hardships that this young boy has to go through with like coming of age and growing up in a time when his country is like under war. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm very hesitant and skeptical. I think I'm really gonna need to be in the mind frame and like the mood to pick this one up. I really want to read it. This was nominated years ago in either 2017, 2019 as like historical fiction book like nomination on Goodreads. So I know that the writing is going to blow me away, and I also just know that this is going to emotionally grab me. This could be a 5-star prediction, but I'm scared. So we're just gonna like wait a little bit before I pick this one up, but this was one that I downloaded and I know that I'm gonna get to it at least this year. It's like in my top 26 that I want to read this year. Last of all, we have Where the Lost Wander by Amy Harmon. This is a story about the Oregon Trail, and unlike Beneath the Scarlet Sky, this does not take place during World War II. And I am looking forward to this because I think that this is a time in US history that doesn't get a lot of attention. You know, with historical fiction as a whole, World War II and World War I seem to get a lot of attention, and there's just a lot of books that come out around that time period. This time period with the Oregon Trail has a different type of hardship, just with people moving their entire lives across country, and that's kind of what this book is about. It's about a family, about this woman that moves across the country for a better life. She meets a man, she falls in love. It's got a love story, it has loss, it has grief. There are moments in here I know that are gonna make me cry, especially with the fact that the main character, the MMC, he is half Pawnee Indian, I believe. So I think there's gonna be some like racial tension and just like the different types of conflicts with different people groups that have been going on in the American West during this time are going to play a huge factor into this book. And so the average rating on this on Goodreads is a 4.4. I also expect this book to be a 5-star potential rating from me, potential 5-star read. But again, I am a little bit nervous because I know this one could potentially like emotionally drain me, but I want to read this so bad. This might be the book that I'm most excited for on this list, just due to the fact that it's historical fiction and that it is in a time period other than World War II. And yeah, I'm just like really eager to read one of Amy Harmon's books. And I've heard that her writing is really poetic and beautiful and that she does a really good job with like making characters come alive. And so I'm really expecting that in this book. And yeah, I downloaded it as soon as I saw that it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I am super excited to read this. That is all for today's video, you guys. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more cute bookish content. And thank you guys so much for being here today. It means the world to me that you stopped by my little corner of the internet. So I will see you guys in the next one. And until then, happy reading. Bye.